Welcome to episode 64 of the Total Hockey Training Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Sean Scahan. And before I introduce my next guest, I just want to remind everybody, hey, Total Hockey Training Online. We're in the preseason phase. We will be rolling into our in-season phase pretty soon. In the Total Hockey Training community, 90 plus members now. And that's a place where you can get my programs, which I'm currently doing with my athletes, and I'm posting content all of the time. And check it out. Both links are in the bio. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. My next guest, good friend of mine, Robert Dos Remedios. Coach Dos is a veteran in the field of strength and conditioning with over 35 years of coaching experience. He is a retired kinesiology professor. He is a master strength and conditioning coach through the CSCCA and was honored as the NSCA Collegiate Strength Coach of the Year. Robert is a respected author of two books. He is currently director of human performance at Elite Edge Performance Training in Santa Clarita, California. Also does a ton of speaking at Perform Better, and he's been a good friend of mine for a long period of time. Dos, welcome to the show, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me. Like we were saying off air, just catching up a little bit. It's been a while.
Yeah, I like to do these to catch up with friends of mine who I haven't might have seen in a while or communicated in a while with, and this is a tremendous opportunity for that. And for the listeners to kind of get hands-on real world experience, because that's what I've always respected about you, Dose. You're a coach,
Hmm.
strength and conditioning coach, and you get guys stronger through a lot of different methods, and I want to talk about that. So real quick, tell the listeners about your background, where you're from and all that, and how you got into this crazy field of strength and conditioning.
Yeah, man, it's quite the journey. It's a long ride. It's one of those things where I just knew I played college football up at the University of California in Berkeley, and through meeting my strength coach up there, Robin Pound, he's the one that kind of made me understand, helped me understand that, the kind of the science and the art of, implementing a strength conditioning program, getting guys to buy in, the coaching part of it and all that. So I knew I wanted to be involved in that. And I actually changed my major coming out uh, from a history major and then having to get ready for a kinesiology program. So I had a whole year of doing all that prep work and everything for upper division stuff. And then that was really my true love. So I've actually taught every level of physical education. So as I was coaching part-time, like at the junior college when I first came back, I was substitute teaching. Then I started teaching middle school, and then I became a high school head football coach. I've done adapted PE in elementary school, and then I retired last December, this past December, and I want to say I was at College of the Canyons right around 26 years. So that's that's kind of where I wrapped up my teaching stuff. But like you said, I'm just I enjoy the field so much. I enjoy listening to you guys and your podcast and all the stuff that's out there. Because it is ever evolving, but there's so many things that we could talk about, just like that have just been tried and true for all the decades that we've done it. So
Mhm.
I think I like that. There's a lot of wacky stuff out there right now, and sometimes I feel like that, like I just want to talk about training sometimes and be like, this is, we actually train, and this is how we can get stronger and more powerful and faster and build work capacity, blah blah blah. But yeah, so that's where I kind of started my journey. And so I've done it at all those different levels, and then now have a chance to really get into more of the youth.
Mhm.
And that's really been fascinating for me. It's been eye-opening, and it's awesome. Like it's really cool to just kind of learn, whether it's long-term athletic development methods and techniques, and then from the performance training standpoint, we can get in this whole thing about Little League and Pop Warner and stuff like that. But I think the physical preparation is something that even the littlest of boys and girls can take advantage of.
Absolutely. So where are you from originally?
I was actually born in Hong Kong, so I came to the United States when I was 10.
Hmm.
So, my background and everything else, and I tell people all the time, like, especially when we talk about youth, the early specialization stuff that we see. I didn't even start playing football till the 10th grade. So I was always kind of too heavy and not probably didn't have much interest in it. When I was, in elementary school and all that. So there wasn't any ninth grade football at the high schools yet. I'm dating myself now. But yeah, so in 10th grade, basically put on pads and put a mouthpiece on for the first time, and just fell in love with the game. I've had some good coaches along the way and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's where I'm from originally. Grew up in Southern California in a city called Burbank,
Yeah.
and then been up here in Santa Clarita, gosh, 26, 27 years now.
So you attained a scholarship to Cal,
Yeah.
and that's pretty neat. So your high school, was it a big high school? Like when I was living in Orange County, you had Mater Dei, you had I want to say LaSalle. Is that a high school there?
Or yeah, like Orange, there's some big
Orange
schools out
Lutheran, Olu,
there.
yep.
I mean, and nowadays
Rancho.
it's almost like a business now, right? So it's like those schools are just, yeah, I didn't go to any schools like that for sure. It was relatively big, I guess, in those times, but now the high schools are so giant.
Hmm.
My senior class was maybe like 400 kids, and now they got senior classes with over 1,000 kids now, so which is pretty normal around
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
So yeah, it wasn't. Uh, we weren't real good or anything, and we actually my junior year in high school we went 0 and 10. Now, I was telling people how hard that is to accomplish. Like it's really difficult to not win a game. Like you have to be really poorly coached, you know. But I don't even want to put it on the kids because all we do is what they tell us to do, and it's just one of those things where you're like, that's especially, when you've seen high school sports of every sport, and sometimes you see these high schools and it's like, wow, these guys are terrible.
Hmm.
That was us. So like it was one of those things where it really turned me off a little bit. And then we were lucky enough my senior year to bring in a coach who was a defensive coordinator at Cal State Northridge, which at the time was a Division II program and pretty good program.
Yeah.
Well, he just changed everything, man. Strength, like we were lifting in the mornings. We were doing way ahead of our time back then. And, that would have been like 1983. And it was way ahead of anything, we're doing a lot of the stuff that people do now, even like in terms of recovery and stuff. So,
Hmm.
pretty cool, to have that experience. Um, and then obviously I went to junior college. So I was recruited out of high school and I was a pretty good student, so I was recruited by some Ivies and like Air Force Academy, Naval Academy, things like that. But I actually took a scholarship at Cal State Northridge
Hmm.
because I took a couple of visits, but didn't get any offers. So when I did that, I had a whole old high school coach that approached me, and I was a qualifier then, and he said, "Hey, you shouldn't go there. You're a Division I football player." And so it kind of convinced me to go to Glendale College, where I actually coached after I got done playing. I coached it for 5 or 6 years. And yeah, that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. I'm actually going back there tonight. We're doing a dedication of the stadium to one of my mentors there tonight. But it's
Awesome.
a kind of a long lineage of football. Andy Reid played football there and coached there. Donated the scoreboard. Like it's a pretty cool community there. But that's, I was there for 3 semesters and then I transferred to Cal.
Okay.
But from that time and that short period of time there, I went from, being a non-recruited essentially player to, one of the highest recruited linemen in the country coming out of junior college that year. So that was cool. I always will owe a lot of debt to Glendale College for sure. Um, and then here we are. But at
Awesome.
that, coming back from to coach there, I also knew that I loved that level because, I had that kind of lumps of clay, right? So I could kind
Hmm.
of do what I wanted and implement a program and not get a lot of pushback, and everybody bought in because back then there wasn't a whole lot.
Hmm.
I was still kind of like the Boyd Epley thing and the bigger, faster, stronger, and all that stuff was kind of the thing that was out there. So for us to be able to get in there and tinker, and I've talked to you about this many times. I think like if you look at some of the stuff we did when we first started, it's kind of embarrassing now, right? That you
Mhm.
like the stuff that we did, but it really isn't because that's what we knew, right? That's what we knew
Yeah.
then. We didn't know better, and uh, we developed and we grew, and I think that's kind of one of the keys to being a coach is kind of understanding that there's better ways to get to things, and sometimes we tweak this or we change this or we completely scrap something, So
Hmm. Well, that's awesome. And I like how you didn't let the effects of that 0-10 season, because sometimes that can take people the wrong direction, right?
oh yeah,
Thank God you got a new coach your senior year. You probably won some more games, and that changed your mindset, especially with your passion for football, because losing can only suck the life out of you when you're passionate about something. I
uh,
was lucky to God, my senior year, we were undefeated. In my junior year, like I was on JV then, we were undefeated. Sophomore year, we were undefeated. So I got to experience winning in high school, but then college, Division III football, we didn't win too many games. But I still loved it. And that's when, like you mentioned Boyd Epley, we were doing the Husker Power program at the now no longer Division III football program at UMass Boston, and I loved it. I mean, my legs were sore the next day, and I felt like I couldn't produce and practice as much as I could, but I felt better on game day, which was the most important to me. But yeah, like that's we were doing that stuff and it was working. It didn't translate into wins, but I think for me in developing my own passion for strength and conditioning, that went a long way, if that makes sense.
yeah. It's funny the Husker power we used to call it Husker soreness because like you literally just the intensity and the volume and stuff. But it's funny because I say like that's kind of a case study in progressive overload, right? Like
Yeah,
it was just never a chance to ever really be stagnant because you're just getting pounded all the time.
yeah,
Uh, Bigger, faster, stronger was kind of similar too, and it's fun
sure.
to look back at it because it's so basic, but it was so brilliant and so easy to cookie cutter plug it right into your high school system. Those guys were really really great at creating those programs and their
Hmm.
percentage charts and their testing charts and all that stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that I appreciated, and I actually did some stuff with that and created our own little point systems and all that kind of stuff based on kind of what we had and what would be our best squat or power clean or something like that. So yeah, I just think like those are epic kind of things in this field that most, young coaches, at least are young. I don't even know what that, 40 would be young, I guess. Might not even know,
Yeah,
back, what was going on back then.
for sure. And I want to get into that because I was able to speak at one of your clinics at the College of the Canyons. And
Yeah.
how long were you at College of Canyons? I know you said it earlier, but how
I think
long?
about 26 years. Yeah. But
26 years.
I had a run where I was doing that clinic yearly and we were getting great people like yourself coming in and speaking, I mean, completely for free. And what was great was I even got Boyle one year when he came to LA to work at Athletes
That's right.
Performance.
Yeah.
Um, but because we had no budget and people understood we were trying to really do some really cool stuff there. And we really kind of did a lot of amazing stuff at that college and put it on the map, and people kind of all over the place knew what College of the Canes was, which was kind of cool. But we only could do it because of these events and stuff that we had put on, and literally like I'd have to buy some new bumper plates or kettlebells or something, and I didn't
Hmm.
have we had no budget for that. So um, that's kind of a nice contrast to what I have now and working in this private industry. Uh, is the budgets and being able
Hmm.
to really cool, like having bells and whistles and stuff now at least.
We'll talk about, so you went as a JUCO player to a D1 player. How did that experience help you? I'm sure you were able to, you had clout with those football players coming to College of Canyons because you did what
Yeah, it was
most of them wanted to do.
eye-opening
Yeah.
in level of play. because like I said, I came out and I was feeling pretty good about myself in terms of like I was the best and this and that and this. And then you get there and you're just a regular person. And they moved me in positions too, because I played tackle and at the junior college level, and I was way too heavy. I was walking around like, you know, 310, 312. Like it was just silly. And
Hmm.
so when I got there, that was one of the things with our strength coaches is like, like you can move a lot quicker. You're pretty athletic and we got to do this and this and this. And they moved me to center, and it was brutal because in the 80s, anybody that's ever watched football, the nose guard was like the creature on everybody's team, and that's when they were tilting them and they were stunting them and they were angling them, and it was always the guys. And the 80s were kind of the era of like the drugs and stuff. So like
Yeah.
those the weight room dudes, the minute
Yeah.
they put their hand down in the grass, and it's like you just see a vein the size of a rope in this guy's arm. I'm like, holy shit, like here we go. So, so it would be like just this battle, this wrestling match for, 80 snaps a game. So I had to lose weight and really like from running and plyos and being able to actually do pull-ups and, drop down to about 285 or so and felt really, really good, felt much stronger. And, to me, that was like one of the things where that was a strength and conditioning part, right? It was like
Hmm.
I became much better at my craft by dialing all this stuff in the weight room and appreciating the conditioning process too. Because the last thing a 312-pound dude wants to do is run 110s or something or gassers, So I got to the point where I felt really, really good and real competitive about that kind of stuff too. And that's when it really grew. And I think that stuck with me as I started coaching was that idea that the one thing that we can control is that conditioning aspect.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter what team, like what sport I was dealing with, like we could be the best conditioned on the court or on the grass or whatever we were doing. And it was a kind of an easy task to accomplish. Now, getting kids taller or bigger or faster is a little tougher, but getting them in condition and getting those energy systems dialed in was pretty easy.
Hmm.
It's not
Hmm.
easy in terms of like the process, and there's a lot of pain and anguish and regret and, you know, questioning yourself, but that's the beauty of it, right? I think that's one
Hmm.
of the, and then it carries over into games and stuff, and if, you're a football guy, so like you understood that whole thing about, they talk about the toughness aspect of that and paying the price now so that later on we can kind of, get the benefits of those really tough work days that we did. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's all those things, everything kind of always has melded together for me in terms of like creating, my philosophy of training and how I coached and what I expected, of my athletes, whether it's a women's soccer player or a men's basketball player. So it's always been the same. And we talked about like, yeah, it's a hockey podcast, but training's training. And I've learned from you going in and you were with the Ducks and then had a chance to help out a little bit and do that stuff there. And that was fascinating for me because of the creature that it was, right? So it's that the hockey player is such a different animal than a football player, or basketball player, or soccer player. So to me, that's the art part, I think, of the coaching, right?
Hmm.
Being able to like know who your clientele is and how to turn the screws on them. And sometimes you gotta, some of my groups you pat them on the butt a little more, and sometimes you grab them by the neck a little more, and
Hmm.
but it's all a matter of like that's the hard part. I think there's a lot of coaches that know the X's and O's in terms of like science and all that stuff, but not able to transfer that message because of that coaching part. And I think that
100%.
I
Yeah.
think for me, teaching helped with that too, like just teaching and knowing how to implement lesson plans with 80 middle schoolers that don't want to learn, uh, paddle tennis or whatever it is that we're doing. So all those things kind of feel pretty fortunate to have those experiences.
That's awesome. And so was there a point at your career at the College of the Canyons where you were a football coach and then transitioned to full-time strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I first came in, I had left my high school head football coach job to take an offensive coordinator position at the college, which we were just starting up football. So they had stopped, football had shut down at College of the Canes from about 81 to 98.
Okay.
Uh, and so they brought it back. The community wanted it. We have pretty good football out here with the high schools and all that. So they felt like that was kind of weird that we wouldn't have a community college that some of these kids could go to. So we started that. Then I coached. We had our first year. We went to a bowl game our very first year with like 38 kids. So we already knew that we could do something special here. And then the next year they created the full-time strength and conditioning position, which was like a tenure track professor position.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one in the state of California. It still is. There's nothing like it. So, and I don't even know, like, in terms of like budgets and everything else, I don't know if we'll ever see that again because there's other ways around them
Mm-hmm.
putting in those teaching positions. So, I did that, and because of that, and working with all 17 sports, then I had to step away from football coaching. Although that's obviously was my baby. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we got really good. I say we used to just roll wall to wall gorillas, and we were great condition, and we ended up winning a national championship in 2004. We you know close in 2003, one game away in 2005. So we had a little run there, um, of some really really good, and part of it was we recruited really good like character kids, and all of our sports that do well tend to have that aspect, that quality about them.
Mm-hmm.
Coachable kids, tough kids, you can get on them a little bit. Uh, Women's soccer sticks out with us. Women's volleyball, um, just bought into that, so that they're going to thrive in my weight room and stuff if that's the mindset.
I love it. So you kind of installed a culture there of hard work. Now, did a lot of those kids move on to achieve their goal of playing D1 football?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny. We gray shirt kids sometimes, right? So they're like sometimes we'll have a kid that'll come in. They'll look, like you could say like, okay, they're kind of a decent looking prospect, but even their high school coach would be like, I don't know if they could play for you. You guys are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Gray shirt them, keep them under 12 units, and then have them train with us that whole time, have them practice with us that whole time. We have had a couple of those guys go and become all Big Ten players. Michigan State, like we've had guys go to the Pac-10, Pac-12, and become all conference players that were basically, I call them throwaways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So not even like myself, where I was kind of a prospect, and I had a Division II scholarship. These kids are coming from, some of these kids didn't start at their high school, so and then end up getting out. So yeah, during that run, it was pretty insane. Like we would have, 3 and 4, 5 corners get Division I scholarships. So the guys
Mm-hmm.
would just get film on there, and they were good enough, but just not good enough to be like the guys for us because
Mm-hmm.
some of those dudes. So yeah, we've had numerous, NFL guys, and like I said, that were just unrecruited out of high school and developed. So that's going back to what I said. Like that's why I like that level, is that we would have I think we had a girl that was from Canyon High School, that didn't even play high school soccer. Last time she played, maybe it was like 10 or 12 years old, like AYSO soccer or something, and end up becoming a Division I, scholarship
That's
athlete.
awesome.
So, there's a lot that's out there. It's tough. It's tough to you got to luck out a little bit, but I think it's a tribute to their preparation and everything else. And then sometimes people physically develop,
Yeah,
at a later time. So I think we get that sometimes.
that's awesome. That is really good. I want to talk about yeah, if you wouldn't mind, this is a hockey training podcast. You did assist me with the Ducks. Was that back in 2015?
Yeah.
We were on a playoff run and we had the need for this was at a time when there was nothing in the budget for an assistant in the NHL. Nowadays
Right.
the staffs are just humongous, which is great. I think it's good. But back then, I was traveling, we were on the road. We had a great playoff run that year. We lost in game 7 to Chicago, I think. Um, so talk about that experience if you could, because this is a hockey training podcast.
It was wonderful, and it worked out perfectly with what was going on with my schedule at the college and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was already kind of stepping away from the coaching part and just really taking more of a role in our department. So I was coming from, and anybody that knows that's listening is from Santa Clarita, you know, understands I was coming from Santa Clarita in the Valencia area and driving down to Anaheim, uh, you know, butt crack early in the morning. The funny part is I'm kind of one of those guys that I like to get somewhere really early, get everything set up. And uh, I always try to explain like what kind of athletes hockey players are. There would always be like three or four of those dudes just sitting there waiting in the parking lot for me, and it's like
Yeah.
uh, eye-opening because I don't yeah, I wouldn't get that, here at the college. Um, but it was great because I got to play around and do a lot of different stuff with them. And the buy-in was instant, and I get it, they're all trying to impress and they're all trying to, get on it and get to that level. But there are some guys, right? Do you
Mhm.
remember that group of guys? Holy smokes, like I just saw a highlight of Josh Manson
Yeah.
fighting. Yeah, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Josh is
remember
a
what a creature,
stud. Yeah.
um, but a lot, Shea Theodore. God,
Yeah.
there was probably five or six guys in there that in that group of youngsters, they were very young back then,
Hmm.
uh, who end up becoming real dudes. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that was fun. And then we would go and you guys would be playing, at night or whatever, we'd show up and I'd see all those guys at Honda Center, and it was fun. It was a good time. I appreciated like the work ethic, I think,
Hmm.
and I just have a feeling like that's just the typical hockey guy,
Hmm.
like guy or even girl. Like I just feel like there's just so much of that, just kind of like put on your shit and get to work,
Hmm.
versus I got a little I'm a little beat up here or whatever. I almost feel like sometimes you have to pull those. Like I'd have a couple guys coming off of getting dinged off of some of the practices and stuff because they're going pretty hard and wanting them to just, oh, you should chill on this one. Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. I
Yeah.
want to just in. So that was a cool part, and that's why I really felt like if I was going to go back and try to work with a team or something, that would be the way to go because it's just I mean, to me, it made my job much easier, in
Hmm.
terms of I just had to teach them the stuff and then they would just get to it quick.
Yeah. No, that's great. That was very helpful during that time. I wish we could have pulled it off. So one thing I
Yeah.
want to talk about is you've spoken at Perform Better a long time, and I used to come down to Long Beach and talk about your pub crawl. And I want to say it was for the Humane Society that you raised money for, correct?
Yeah,
Talk about what that's all about, and are you still doing it?
we haven't done it. I was gonna try, pandemic messed things up a little bit, right? And then
Hmm.
getting just getting on ground in person stuff going again, it's been tough. It really has.
Hmm.
Unless I see like a kettlebell cert or something like that, I'm not seeing the kind of numbers that we're just not seeing the kind of numbers generally. Although this past couple of years, it seems like it's kicked up a decent amount with Perform Better. But those numbers, like in Providence, and oh man, I mean, those were gigantic groups, couple thousand people. Um, so I thought about trying to pull it off this year because we came back to Long Beach this year. We did downtown LA at the convention center the year before. Um, really, I don't know, since the last pub crawl, that's really been it. I just didn't have enough time to pull it off because initially I was supposed to speak in Providence and not Long Beach, and then I got flipped back over. I got Krista moved me to Long Beach, so I'd like to get it going again. I've done it in Portland before. My very first one I
Oh,
ever did was up there with some friends and had some gyms and stuff up there. Um, it's just so easy to do, and everybody loves a pub crawl, and everybody
mhm.
loves animals, dogs and cats and stuff. So getting people to donate stuff and getting people to sponsor was very easy. So I would move it around. So when we did Long Beach, I was doing the Long Beach like the Humane Society there. And then I've done the animal shelter that's out here, where I've had, three of our dogs from. And um, it's just really, it's easy to do. It's fun. So, I know you've joined us for those, and I'd like to get it going again. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's awesome. Those are fun times and fun pubs to check out.
Yeah.
Hey, so tell the listeners, I know you said you're retired from teaching, but what are you up to nowadays? I imagine you're not retired. I'm sure you're still training, coaching. What are you up to now?
Yeah. So having a chance to, I got approached by some people that wanted to start a performance training center, which is tougher than it sounds. Um, if it wasn't, there'd be a lot more of those kinds of places, I think. But there's nothing like that out here in terms of like the old velocities and stuff. Remember that
Hmm.
there was a big velocity here at one point, and it didn't end up panning out after a few years. But that I don't know what that reason was, but I think what we're trying to build is really sound, it's really comprehensive. So it's called Elite Edge, and we're right now we're just in the final stages of permits and all that good stuff. So we've been planning it for ages. We've met with Perform Better and everybody else as far as facilities and like I said, the nice part is I have a little bit of a different mindset in terms of budget. I don't have to cut a bunch of corners. I can actively look at, what VBT stuff do we want, what's the layout going to be. I have a ton of space compared to what I had. So we're doing that now, and one of my main job is to be a director of human performance in terms of I'm going to do all the hiring. So I'm hiring the head coach, all the coaches, the training, and all that good stuff, and then just kind of help in the implementing of it. And it's all my systems that are in place. But my goal is to have the head coach be the go-to person and the face of this thing moving forward, because I don't really have that role. I don't
Hmm.
stepping into that role. So it's been a cool process. It's like I say, like just getting into understanding long-term athletic development and how we would structure our age group, different age group classes. But the one thing I really wanted to have was we went and visited a bunch of different places, and the places most of the places we went it looked honestly like it looked like a lot like a pretty well put together PE class,
Hmm.
in terms sprint mechanics and stuff like that they would do and plyos, but we wanted to be much more comprehensive. So with our place that's set up in the layout that we have right now, I wanted to have like a flow of like how the class would go. It wouldn't matter if it was our fundamentals class, which would be like the elementary age, to the more developmental, like build your motor classes, like middle school, to the competitive classes, like the high school, college. So, where we would teach activation, warm up, prep, get that going, move into mobility, speed work, move into power work, move into strength work, finish with conditioning work, and then finish with recovery. And we would take that very seriously. So in our place, as far as the recovery areas, a designated zone where we would have like our compression stuff, Normatex,
Hmm.
massage guns, foam rollers, all that good stuff. So like, they're just kind of ingrained that we're not just gonna, little Jimmy or little, Jenny's not gonna just, we're not just getting, we're not just doing sprints with them, right? Like I want to
Hmm.
make sure that, yeah, we'll have run rockets. Yeah, we're gonna have Vertimaxes. Like we have an awesome weight room, but we're gonna be able to make sure that they're kind of a well-rounded in terms of getting everything in. Then
Hmm.
we'd have some specialized classes in terms of like people that want a little more speed work, a little more strength work, that they would take those classes in addition. But the base of their memberships are going to be these comprehensive classes where they're getting everything in every session from those coaches. So it's kind of a cool thing. I don't think there's anything that's like it.
Hmm.
Especially from the places that I've gone. I'm just not seeing that. So I feel like that's kind of the cool thing. Even from like when we get in, and I saw this with the Seahawks when I visited up there years ago. Just a little three-question questionnaire when they come in. Um,
Hmm.
how'd you sleep last night? Have you eaten today? Like stuff that kids sometimes will be like, oh, not feeling very good. Well, I didn't eat today. It's 5 p.m. All of a sudden you're like, okay, what's going on? And I've had that with especially with some of my female athletes. They just, oh, I forgot to eat kind of thing. Or, I broke up with my girlfriend or whatever it is, like I'm just not feeling it. And then our assessment is just a ground contact time, like a VBT test.
Hmm.
So every single day, the parents can look on the app and see how that questionnaire score went and how that test looked compared to all the other days and say like, oh, that makes sense. He's been sick. He hasn't been feeling good. Like the little things that you would just put together from saying like, how come he's so less reactive than normal? And then that's probably going to reflect in the rest of the workout too. So it could be, a 10th grader or something, and at least we'll be able to track that and have that feedback. And one of the things we wanted was for the parents to be able to see what's going on every
Yeah.
day, in the classes, but from, their progress and maybe why they feel a certain way or they're really kicking butt in these workouts. Like, yeah, look what's happening. He's eating, he's sleeping more, like he's dialing it in. That's the whole thing. We wanted to have that more holistic approach to the whole conditioning process, right? Which is like
Hmm.
take care of yourself as well. We see that. I mean, there's pro guys that don't take care of themselves that way. So
Right.
also
Right.
know how critical that can be and how much better things could be for them if they just dialed those things in a little bit more, or at least more aware of it, right?
I love that you're going to be doing that. I talked about it on another video that the NHL has eliminated fitness testing. And I haven't talked to too many people in the industry. I don't know what that means. I know that like they can't do a day of fitness testing at the start of training camp, but I also got to think, I was doing monitoring back when I made Excel spreadsheets and color coded and all this stuff. And the guys reluctantly did it, and it was great. I got to see some good trends over time. But I just wonder if that kind of stuff is going to be eliminated from the pro game. I don't know. Like
Yeah, we've
I don't
talked
know.
about that.
Yeah,
We remember we've talked about that, and I think when I you set me up when I went to Vancouver, remember? And I was up there with Takahashi.
Roger. Yeah, Raj. He's been on the
And
show too.
yeah, and they were doing some pretty cool stuff, right? In terms of like monitoring catapult stuff and all that. But there was always that thing where, and whether it's collective bargaining or what, or just players union in general, like maybe you don't want to know too much. Maybe you shouldn't know
Yeah,
too much about our guys, right? Because then you can maybe it's contracts, maybe it's injuries, maybe, but some of the things that you can get from that are pretty significant, right? And one of the things that he
yeah.
was talking about was, looking at not necessarily like minutes on the ice, but like what's going on during those minutes. So if it's like
Hmm.
you're getting these tons and tons of impacts, and maybe you shouldn't be in group A for the lift that next morning, or maybe you should be in, with these guys, even though you got less
Yeah,
minutes, but you were, shit was going down out there. So like that kind of stuff I think is pretty vital. It's pretty important, right? In terms of setting stuff up. And I know the Seahawks were doing all that stuff. They had like 8 sports science guys when I was up
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Um, but also, you had position coaches and stuff were like, this is bullshit. Like we're not, I don't tell
yeah.
me. I know these guys have been doing this and I could eyeball this, So yeah, it'll be interesting, I think, at that level because it does have implications in terms of like I said, contracts and stuff like that, or how you view somebody if they're injured or if they're not injured, are they playing injured? Are they playing tired? That kind of
Hmm.
stuff. But yeah, and honestly, like I've barely, I love talking to guys, and there's a ton of guys at the Division 1 football level that are just using a ton of different um, GPS and things like that. But like, there's so many variables that I get lost in them sometimes. So I'm like, what can I just? That's why I'm like, give me a ground contact. That's an easy one, right? It's not even like
Hmm.
a like just how fast can you just stepping off a 6-inch box? Just get off the ground as fast as you can,
Hmm.
right? Like anybody can do that. So one of those things was to me was like I can use that because I know people years ago I'd see guys using force plates and just kind of doing a basic like that to kind of see where they were in terms of where they're going to start their day and their workout. So to me, that's important, as we get into like the more experience like lifting classes and stuff, and we'll look at stuff like bar speed and all that stuff as we go. But that's down the road,
Hmm.
with these kids training. So
I always got, I wouldn't say confused. I just had the, what did Johnny Parker say, the old football strength and conditioning coach? He says we have 16 tests per year, right? Games. And I looked at the NHL, like we have 82 tests a year.
yep,
And so I was always kind of like, okay, how do you balance the rest and recovery process and training with the monitoring? Like, what do you got to know? Like, you have a game tomorrow. You got to find a way to get ready for tomorrow. And
yeah,
so if that tells you like, okay, you're not going to do anything today, great, but you're still going on the ice for practice. So it became something that it's just, it was hard for me to comprehend over time. I did the best I could. I mean, we were using force plates and monitoring that, but it became something where like I didn't want to be. I really enjoyed being a coach, and whether it's on the training staff, you're a coach in the weight room, you're helping these guys get better. I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and using the measurements to complement what we were doing on top of that to make decisions that make sense. And now it's just just intrigued to see how this goes. Because I'd always come across players, I'd always say something to the effect of like, listen, the GM or the coach isn't looking at these numbers the way that I am. They're not gonna like not pay you a certain amount of money. You need
right,
to put the puck in the net, or you need to do this better. They're not looking at your heart rates or something.
right, right.
Maybe some might do just to check in, but this is my thing, and this is my thing with you guys. And that was a tough sell for a while. You have to have that trust and belief in the process, but it's interesting to see which way that's going to go.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, right? Because yeah, look at that season that you're talking about. I mean, with GPS, I can tell you what the GPS is going to say already, right? That
Hmm.
everyone's tired, nobody's optimal. Like
Yeah.
everything, we're piecing this together and we're trying to perform as best we can. I think that's one of the things that opened my eyes when I just started hanging out and visiting you and stuff is the idea of just trying to get that lift in, like right after so that they can like sleep in the morning and like not have to try to get in there before they get on the ice again in the morning or
Hmm.
travel or whatever they're doing. And and one set is better than no sets,
Yeah.
right? So and that's the thing that sometimes people have a hard time like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to get my three sets at 10. Like, no, I mean, I remember like a couple of times and just seeing how effective it was, like two sets of weighted chins, like 5 reps or stuff, right? And then just doing basic stuff uh to try to optimize like power output and a little bit of strength stuff. Because in a perfect world, right, you'd be able to get all that stuff and they'd be rested and then get on the ice in the morning. But honestly, basketball is the same way. I talked to Todd Wright, with the Clippers, and that schedule is just ridiculous. So I don't
Hmm.
even know, when they talk about like load management's a real thing, and people that don't understand that and look from the outside go, oh, those guys make millions of dollars, like, suck it up. It's like, no, man, it's and we already know hockey's so violent. I'm telling you, go down and walk around on an NBA court and look at those dudes. Like
Yeah.
just look at those dudes physically and be like, these guys beat on each other. They
Hmm.
run on this floor all night and then they fly the next morning. Like that's a lot. It
Yeah.
really is. Well, they say like, how are we going to get that lift in? What are we going to do? We've been lifting in the off season, all that good stuff. Like you got to do what you got to do. And so
Hmm.
like, yeah, like me knowing metrics here and there, that's cool. But what am I gonna change? They're like you said, like maybe you can skip the lift, but their coaches are gonna get in their ass on the ice, right? No matter what.
Hmm.
So they're gonna go hard and then they're gonna have to travel and they're gonna grab a snack and they're gonna get on the bus. Like there's nothing optimal about that. So it would be, a GPS would be pretty easy to understand whatever it was you're trying to measure in terms of load management and stuff. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't think most people understand that and they just say like, "Oh, just, you guys are millionaires, just suck it up and play
Hmm.
hard."
Yeah, there's a lot. a lot behind the curtain to
for sure.
absolve. Yeah. So, well, Dose, this has been unbelievable. We could be doing this all day. So tell the listeners how they could reach you, or where are you on social media? And I know you got a couple books out. Talk about that. This is a chance to kind of promote yourself a little bit if you want.
Yeah, I'm not great on social media anymore.
You
Most
were
of
you
my
were back in the day. You were
I
killing
did
it.
a lot. Yeah, I did a lot. I still have coachdose.com. I haven't really updated much, but all of our like workouts of the week stuff, break it down videos are still on there. You can just go through there and peruse and
Hmm.
you just want to like put in a keyword, you can search, whether it's kettlebells or ultimate sandbags or something. So coachdose.com is my site. I keep it going. I haven't updated much. Most of the new stuff I'm doing is I'm on Instagram. So like Coach Dose, Coach underscore Dose. They can go there and see stuff or hit me up or message me there. I'm there a lot, but my posts vary from a training one to a beer one to a dog one. Like so, it's kind of like it's far from like a professional account or anything like that. So just it's fun. We do stuff, clips of stuff like this that I'll do with you guys and um some of the training stuff and then I'm more updates coming obviously with the athletic development stuff with the youth.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been awesome, Dose. It's been great to see you, great to catch up, and
Yes,
we'll have to
always.
do this again sometime, bud.
For sure, my man.
All
Thanks.
right, great to see you. All the best, and say hi to the Cosgroves. You still talk to them?
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
We're
great
going strong
people.
now. Going
Santa
strong.
Clarita. All right.
Yep.
See you, Dose. Thanks, buddy.
All right, buddy.
See ya.